Welcome back to a new video. In this video we are going to do data cleaning on a real-world dataset using Python Pandas. We are going to have a human resources dataset and I'm going to add the dataset's link in the description of this video. Let's start coding.
So this is the dataset that we are going to use in this video. Let's take a look at it quickly and then we are going to start coding. So they say tasks to perform data cleaning. We are going to do this, but we can extend this or do less. But I'm going to try to show you a lot of ways for data cleaning in this video. So about dataset, human resources analytics helps us with interpreting organizational data. It finds the people-related trends in the data and allows the human resources department to take appropriate steps to keep the organization running smoothly and profitably. So I'm not going to do anything like exploring the dataset from this side. I just want to show you how we can download this data, and they wrote tasks to perform, so I want to show you them. So I'm just going to hit the download button. You can do it too, and you need to put the downloaded file in the destination that you are going to run your Python code. Okay, see you in the VS Code in a second. So here I am at the VS Code and I'm just going to open the files section. You can see our dataset is in here and I'm going to create a notebook file, notebook with the extension of IPython. And then what I'm going to do is, at the first step, I'm going to say, I'm going to select the kernel as the Python 3.11. And at the first step, I'm going to say import pandas as PD. We are going to use pandas for data cleaning. And for the starting, let's say data, and we will use pandas read CSV for reading our data file. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to copy its name. And then I'm going to run the cell. Then I'm going to check if the data uploaded successfully. Yeah, it seems great. So in this data set, we have columns like age, attrition, business travel, daily rate, department, distance from home, education, education field, employee count, employee number, and add of features like that. Actually, let's see 35 columns with 1470 rows. So it's a quite nice data set, and we can get general information about this data set by using data.info. So it's the first step that we are going to look like. By .information method, we can see range index, memory usage, data types, etc. And we can see that range index is 1470, and we are coming to here, this column, non-null count. Like, you need to see the same numbers in here. For it's not guaranteeing anything, but if you see the same numbers in here, it can mean that you have no NA values in your dataset. Otherwise, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, not sure. But like if you see 1469 in here instead of this, you need to say that, oh, okay, there is one NA valued row in here. So you can use that information for this too. Okay, so then at the next step, I just copied the task list from the Kaggle, like they wrote it like that. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to make them in a comment type. Actually, we can do that. So let's go step by step in here. So deleting redundant columns. So let's go to data.columns and pick the ones that we are going to use. Like what we can use in here is, actually, let's also call the data.head and tree for seeing the first tree entry, and we can have an idea about the values in here. So there's two ways of doing this. Like at the first step, what we can do is we can just filter out the columns that we are going to use in our analysis or modeling, etc. Or we can delete the columns from the data set we have right now. These two will both work. I'm going to show you the both ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a list, like I will say data, let's say columns to keep, and it's going to be in the list type, and I will say columns to drop. So we are going to do the both ways. So let's check our data. So I'm going to take age, attrition, business travel, daily rate, department, distance from home, education, at the first step, to columns to keep, like in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll in here, like I'm not going to take the education field, employee count, employee number. So I'm going to say like education field, employee count, employee number, employee satisfaction. Like I'm not going to take this. I'm going to take the hourly rate. Like I will say these are going to be dropped. I'm going to take hourly rate like in here. And also let's say you want to see the columns, so you are going to say you can see them right now by the head, so you can just say like index location, and then you can say 1 to 3. So this will filter out the rows, and what you can do is you can just add this in here for filtering out the columns. Like I also need to add this quickly, so I'm going to filter the columns of 1 to 3. So I can just extend this list. Like if I want to check from 4 to 10, I can say 4 and 10 in here, and I can see the relevant columns like this. So in here I'm just going to extend this like 8 to 15, and we can check the others right now. Employee count, employee number. We are not going to take this. We are not going to take this. We took this. And we can keep from here. I'm going to say 13, and I will say 22 like this. And in here, let's see, I'm not going to take them. I will take the job role. So I'm going to take this 2 in here, and I will say it's going to be in our new data set. And actually, let me quickly check. No, I'm going to add them to here like this. And let's keep with adding the job role to the columns to keep like this, and let's keep going. I'm not going to do this for entire list. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some at columns to keep. So let's go without checking one by one. So I took the job role at the last place. In here I'm not going to take them. Like let's delete this. These are going to be in the columns to drop, and these are going to be in the columns to keep. So I think these are enough. Great. So we created our lists. Now we can delete the below cells like this. Okay. So let's check the lengths. In the columns to keep side, we have 13, and in the columns to drop side, we have 22. And in our original data frame, so I created that as data, I guess. Okay, data.shape, we have 35. So we are going to delete 22 columns. Okay, so let's start by deleting the columns that we want. So I'm just going to call the data in here, and then let's say you want to filter out this 2. So what you can do is you can say this 2 brackets, and you can select age with attribution inside in here. So you are going to have that 2 columns in here. And you can also extend this list like business travel. You can add it in here, and you can see that you have this data. So what you can do in here is you are going to delete the one of the brackets, since you are going to pass in a list, and you are going to take this list and pass it in here. So you are going to have the columns that you want. So let's quickly check. The last one is years with current manager. So I'm going to go to end, and the last column is going to be years with current manager. Great. So you can easily filter data by this. And what you need to do after this is you need to set this as something like new data or etc., since you are going to use this data from now on. So I'm going to call it new data, and you are going to see that we have this in here. So I'm just going to delete this, and we have our first method ready. So let's also name it like first method. And after that, what I'm going to do is I will say second method. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to call the data again. So after that, let's say I want to delete this age column. So what I can do in here is I can say data.drop, and I'm going to open parentheses, and I'm going to specify columns like this, the parameter Then I'm going to give it a list in here, like I can say age and attrition like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it run. So we drop this two, and I'm going to call the original data frame in here, and you can see age and attrition in here, and data.drop columns age attrition in here. So what you need to see in here is we did this operation, but it didn't affect the original data frame. So that caused because we didn't set our chains. So you can set your chains by two methods. Like you can say in place equals to true, and when you do that, it's going to set the new data frame like this, and with this two dropped, and your original data frame is going to look like this. Also, you can just reassign it like data, and you are going to see that you can use that data from now on. Let's just test it. Let's say data new, and let's call the data new after this. I will call data new, and you're going to see that we won't have age and attrition. So you need to do one of these two methods. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this, and in here I'm just going to make it call again, so you can see we all have it in here. So I will say data.drop, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this columns to drop, and I'm going to give it in the columns parameter like this. And then I'm going to set, let's not set in place equals to true, let's say data new 2 like this, and I'm going to make it run. So we are going to see that in data new 2 we are going to have the new data frame with 13 columns that we want. Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say I'm going to use this method. I want to keep my analysis using data keyword, so I'm going to set in place equals to true for the second method. Also, we can just do something like this. I'm going to say in place equals to true, and with this what I'm going to have is you can see data, we have 35 columns. I'm just going to make it run like in here. I made it run. Then I'm going to call the data again, and our original data frame is just modified. Great. So we are going to use this data frame from now on. Okay, so let me call the tasks again. I copied them to clipboard, and I'm just going to make them in the comment type. Like we finished this one, and we are at the renaming the columns. So let's do that. I'm going to call the data again, and also I'm going to call the data.columns. So we have this. Okay, what we are going to do right now is I'm going to change some of their names. But if you want to do operations for all columns, what you can do is you can say something like for index in data.columns, you can say index.upper, and you can just say print this, and you can do operations for all columns like this, and you can set them to new list, and you can just set data.columns to new list. You create. But I'm not going to do that kind of operation because we don't need that. I'm just going to change, like, let's say distance from home. I'm going to change that. I will say data, we need to use rename like this, and then I'm going to say columns. You need to give a dictionary in here, like you need to say old name, distance from home, and let's say distance home like this. And when you run that, you are going to see that your column name is going to change. But I'm just going to make the data.columns run again, and you are going to see that it didn't change. So you need to do either in place equals to true or set data equals to etc. But I prefer in place, so I will do that. And when I call the data.columns, you are going to see that the column name is going to change. So this is the proper way for it. Also, you can add more columns to this. So let's do like, as soon as you give dictionary in here, it's not a problem. Let's say daily rate, and let's set it like daily rate 1. And what we can do is, actually I'm not going to do in place in here because I don't want it to happen. You can just set hourly rate, and actually we can do this wage. Like I'm going to just copy this So I'm changing two column names in here. So I will say daily wage, and I will say hourly wage, and we can continue like this. I'm just going to make the data columns. They are not changed, so I'm going to show you the other method. Data is going to be like this, and I'm just going to call again. It changed to daily wage, hourly wage. Great, so our second task is complete. Okay, let's get back our tasks. So we did this, we did this. The next step is dropping the duplicates. So for that, I will say data, and I'm going to say dot duplicated. So it's going to return me booleans with true and false like this. And you can see we have a pandas series in here. So let's say you want to check the duplicates for the first 20. You can just say head 20, and you can easily manipulate this series. So let's also check the type of this. So it's going to be an array type pandas series. Yeah. So after this duplicated, what you can do for seeing the total number of duplicates is you can just add that sum after that, and you are going to see that we don't have any duplicated rows. So that's great. So duplicate means exact same, and we don't have any exact same rows in our data set. But what if we had? We were going to say data drop duplicates, and we were going to set in place equals to true. And with this code, we can drop the duplicates, delete them. Great. So let's get back to our checklist. It says cleaning individual columns. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to call the data. And what we can do is, let's say, I'm just checking out. Let's say we are only looking for people who is in the company for less than 8 years. So we want to clean the ones that are at this company more than 8 years. So what we can do is we can say data, and we can filter out the data like years at company, and we want to take the less than 8 years one. Also, let's say less than or equal to. So we are going to have that. So our row count is going to change. I'm just going to call shape on this one, and I'm going to call the data.shape in here. So we are going to see the difference here. We filtered out like 450, and we can do this for others too. Like let's check. Let's say we want to get only the attribution yes ones. So I'm going to call the data.shape in here, and then I'm going to filter my data like data and data attribution equals to yes. So after that, I'm going to only have the yes. So how we can check that if we only filter the yes ones? You can just check the row count, it's going to change. Also, what you can do is you can select the specified row like attribution, since this returns a pandas data frame, and then you can say .unique. And after that, you are going to see that with also parentheses, you are going to see that you only have yes. If you have no in here, it's going to appear in this array. Like let's do this on the original one. I'm just going to copy this, and I will say data, then I'm going to do this filtering operation, and you can see that at the original data frame we have this no option. So we are cool, great. Also, we can do other operations like let's say we want to remove this underscores from our column business travel. So how we can do that is, there's two ways. Again, I'm going to show the both. At the first place, what I'm going to do is I will say it's the easy way, data business travel, it's the vector way. I'm going to say dot replace. What we are going to replace is underscore. We are going to replace it with an empty string or space. So I'm going to make it run, and here is our new series. So this is not the result we want. Let's quickly check why it didn't do our operation. I will say business travel, and I'm going to make it select, and then I'm going to go to first index, and I will say type in here. So let's check if it's string or not. So it's string, so maybe we can use like string.replace, and now it's in here. Great. So you can just use .string replace. It didn't happen at the first place since we selected the first column and we used from string. Okay, this is one way, and how we can change that is, let's say Actually, I'm going to call the data again. I don't want to modify the original data frame we are working with. So I'm going to say modify data, and I will say data.copy. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the modify data for showing. It's the exact same like this. And we have this underscores in here. And I will say modify data. And after that, actually, modify data underscore. Okay. We are going to have this series. So we have underscores in our original data frame, and we have the series that we want in here. What we can do is we can just set modify data business travel, the column that we want to make the change, and we can set it like that. So after that, when I call the modify data, we are going to see that we are going to have a business travel column with no underscores. Great. We can also do this for others, for both text and numeric ones, like we can modify our data frame like that. Great. So I just decided to not showing the second one since it's unnecessary. This is the best way, like the vectorial way. So we can continue to our tasks. So let's see our other tasks. I'm going to call the tasks again, and we just cleared this. Now I'm going to come to this one, remove the NA values from the dataset. So let's call the data, and in here how we can check the NA values is, again I will say is NA, and it's going to return me booleans for each cell. And if you want to check the NA count column wise, you can just use that sum after that, and we don't have any NA values. Also, it's a Pandas series. You can easily manipulate it like tail, tree, etc. You can do the operations that you want. And what I'm going to do right now is, after that, I see it's 0. I'm going to just mark this task as completed, but you can just do like, if you have NA values in your dataset, you can do like data.drop NA, and you need to set in place equals true, or you need to say data equals the data drop NA. So you can just modify your data if you have NA values in your dataset, but we don't have any. Great. So I'm just getting the task list again, like this, actually, like this, and it says check for some more transformations. So let's do like, we only have one task left. Let's do, let me call the data again. Let's set attribution to 1 if this is yes, and to 0 if the attribution is no. So let's do that. I'm going to say, actually before that I just want to not underscore ones in my dataset. So I'm just going to come to here again, and I will say modify data. Actually we can just change this to data, like in here I will say data, and then in here we can just do data, and after that we are going to have the not underscore ones in our dataset, like in here. Great. So after that I'm going to come to my data again. I'm going to make it run. Now we are going to change these numbers. What I'm going to do is I will say data. Firstly, I'm going to select the column that we want to do the operation on. I will say attribution like this, and then I will say dot apply. Then I'm going to say lambda x is 1 if attribution. So since we are doing the operation in here, I will say x is 1 if x is equals to yes, else no. So when we do that, you are going to see that we will have 1 no, actually, else we need to say 0. And you can see that we have the ones and zeros in here. So we can check if it's correctly applied, like the first index in here is 1 and it's yes in here, and the second is like 0, and in here it's no, so it applied correctly. So we did this operation, but there's a problem. Our original data frame is still having the string values that we have. So what we are going to do in here is we are just going to set this, like I'm going to say data, and the column that we want to change is going to be equal to our operation in here. So after that we are going to see that we are going to have the data we wanted in here. Great. So also we can check its type, like I'm just going to call the data attribution and one element from it, random one, and I'm just going to make it come, and I will say type in here, and it's numpy integer. Great. So we have the checklist completed. I'm just going to code it again, and I think we did a great job in this video. We cleaned our dataset. So as the last step, I'm going to show you how we can export this data. So our new data is set as a data in the pandas data frame with no underscores, 1 and 0s, and the attribution side and the columns we wanted. So now we are going to do Excel exporting. What I'm going to do is, if I want to get my new data as the CSV file, I'm going to say to CSV, then I'm going to specify the name like cleaned data.csv, and I'm going to set the index as false if I don't want to get the indexes at the first column like in here. I'm going to set it to true if I want to get them. Also, you can see that you will have a lot of parameters for this exporting side. You can just select from these ones and check them. I'm not going to do anything, and I'm going to set index as false, and when I make it run, you are going to see that we are going to have clean data CSV in here. We can quickly check like pandas with CSV and clean data CSV. I will say .head, and it's like we wanted, no underscores, 1 and 0s in here. So our new data is ready. Also, you can do export is as an Excel file, and how we can do that is you will say data to Excel, and you are going to say cleaned Excel.xlsx. This extensions is really important. Also, I'm going to set the index as true this time. So I'm going to make it import. Then it's here, as you can see. And at the next step, I will say pandas.read Excel, and I will say cleaned Excel.xlsx, and I will use .head for seeing if we wrote that file correctly. And here it is, attribution 1 and 0. Now we have the index column in here, 0, 1, 2, 3, and there's no underscores. Great. So that was all for the coding part.
Thanks for watching the video. I'm sharing 2 or 3 new videos every week about data science and Python programming. You can subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I shared a free data science bootcamp where I teach Python, Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Plotly, Seaborn, and scikit-learn with 3 projects. The video is about 7 hours and it's completely free. You can just reach to that video from the cards of this video or the link in the description.